And welcome to the Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25, where we talk exclusively St. Mary's University athletics. I'm Dean Beckman, the faculty athletic representative for St. Mary's, along with Donnie Netto, our sports information director for the Cardinals. And Donnie, at a restaurant or in the grocery store, they call it gluten-free. On television, we call it guest-free. Today, we don't have a guest. It's just you, it's me. We're talking St. Mary's athletics. And we should also point out, before we get into kind of a summary of how the fall sports are going at St. Mary's, you and I have a little personal wager going on.
That's
don't we?
right.
So why don't
Absolutely.
you tell our audience what that is?
Well, Dean being the Cardinals fan that he is, and
St. Louis Cardinals fan, I
myself
should point
being
out.
the Minnesota Twins fan that I am, we've decided that whichever team has the most wins in the playoffs, the other person has to wear the uniform of their opponent on the nest. So go Twins.
Go Cardinals. And we get to say go Cardinals on this show all of the time.
Right.
That's the
That's
best.
right.
One of the best things about St. Mary's is the mascot.
And Dean, you closed out your tour as the harbor master at the Oktoberfest parade.
Not quite yet.
Oh,
We got
you're
one
not
more
still done?
parade. No, we've got one
Okay.
more parade.
Which one do you have left?
The Winona State Homecoming Parade is left, and then I'll be done as harbor master.
Good for you.
No,
Good for you.
and the Oktoberfest parade is a blast. It is just a big party, and it was a lot of fun.
Good,
Yeah, it
good.
was good. So again, on the show today, since it's just Donnie and me, we're going to summarize the fall sports and kind of take a look at where each sport is at. And Donnie, let's start out with the volleyball team, because right now they have a winning record overall at 11-7, and they're just now getting into conference play. So it's kind of a good time to sort of analyze where this team is at. They're 1-1 in the conference, 11-7 overall, and they're coming off of a tournament where they were in the Augustana Invitational and went 2-1 there.
Yeah, it's been kind of a crazy year for Coach Keeker and the Cardinals, and it's really been a roller coaster ride for them. They open up 2-2 at the Ground Round Sugarloaf Classic, then they win 4 of their next 5 matches, then they drop a couple of matches, and now they come into to Wednesday's game against St. Thomas, having won 2 of their last 3. So it's been a bit of a wild ride for them, and now that the tournament aspect of their season is over, they can really start focusing on the conference and the matches that really matter, because what it all boils down to is getting into postseason play, being one of those top 6 teams, and when the regular season ends. And the matches that they want to focus on now are those conference matches, beginning Wednesday against a very good St. Thomas team, right now ranked number 19 in the country.
Right, and so they'll deal with the Tommies, and then after that it's St. Ben's, Concordia, St. Olaf, all coming up on the horizon here. One game I think that Coach Keeker would love to have back was that home match against Hamlin. That started out the conference season, and the Cardinals lost that one 3-1. Although you got the sense that the Pipers might be kind of an up-and-coming team in the conference this year, and that might not be the only upset they pull off.
Yeah, and I think that we talk about it all the time in every sport, and the conference is just so deep. There really isn't a match that you can look past. On paper, that certainly should have been a match that maybe Coach Keeker and the Cardinals figured they should be able to get in the win column, but Hamlin played an outstanding match, and St. Mary's just wasn't able to pull it out. It was 1-1 after the first 2 sets, and Hamlin took it from there, and it kind of is the way that the season has gone for them. They had a lot of chances, weren't able to put several balls away, and the nice thing about that, and you always look for bounce backs, is in their second conference match, they played McAllister and made quick work of the Scots, winning 3-0. And so that's what they needed to do, is you need to be able to put the past behind you, whether it be a good loss or not so good loss. You need to be able to learn from it, put it behind you, and then focus on what's coming up. And really, that's what they have to do now with the brunt of their conference schedule left. They need to make sure that they're ready to go and they're ready to play every single night.
And, we like to joke on this show that when we have an athlete as a guest, they get the Cardinals Nest bounce, because they usually go on to have a pretty good week. And that certainly has been the case for Lexi Barth. We had her on the program earlier this fall, and she leads the team in kills. And I think Donnie has looked like a whole different player this year. She's really looked good out there.
Oh, no question. And I really think that part of that is the fact that now she's stepped into a more prominent role in terms of the offense, a more prominent role in terms of a leadership position. So I think that you're right. I mean, this is not the same Lexi Barth you saw the first 3 years that she was here. You saw flashes of this, but it's a consistent. She is their go-to player, and is really doing a great job. When you've got 178 kills through 18 matches, you're doing something right. And right now she's playing very well. And I think that Lillian Braun, the setter, really likes to go to her. And those two need to continue that. But there also needs to be people along with those two to kind of carry some of the load.
Yeah, and one of the players, I think, stepping up that has not received a lot of playing time in the past is Dana Lynn Jostock. She has really looked good. I think she's second or third on the team in kills, and she's played a prominent role and has been named to some all-tournament teams.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Dana Lynn is I think she's just starting to become comfortable in the rotation. And like you said, last year she wasn't so much of a regular in the lineup, and she's getting her chance now, and she's saying, hey, I can do this, and really doing a phenomenal job, kind of taking some of the load off of Lexi, so that you don't have to continually go to her. But she's been very impressive and has done a really nice job, as has Linnea Wallace. Yep. And Rachel Kettle. These are the neat thing about this is these are names that we haven't really talked a lot about in the past. And you look at last year, we talked a lot about Lillian, of course, and when you've got Brandy Blattner, an All-American, you kind of have that go-to person. Well, this year Brandy's gone, graduated, and moved on, and so somebody needed to step into that role. And right now they've got 4 people who are sharing the load and doing a really good job of replacing what Brandy brought to the table.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know your thoughts on the glue that keeps that team together and winning like they are with a record of 11-7. Is it a Lily Braun, or is it a DJ Babb who leads the team in digs? And I have seen her make some phenomenal digs in order to keep volleys alive. She's really played well, and I think is kind of one of those unsung stars on the team.
Absolutely, and I think that there are so many. This is a team that I think that really relies on the whole rather than a few pieces. You can't not talk St. Mary's volleyball without talking about Lillian Braun. She's had an outstanding career, senior setter. She's got over 600 assists already this year, and she's got half of her year left to get over 1,000. She's already got 2,000 assists in her career. So you can't talk about the Cardinals without talking about Lillian. But there are so many others, and DJ certainly is one of those. She had a 42 dig night about a week ago, and that's so close to the school record. It was one of those nights that you just go, nothing is going to get past her. She is going to dig everything, and she is part of that cog that makes this work. But you look at a Haley Weber or a Carly Cronin or Grace Gillis. There are so many pieces that Coach Keeker is able to use this year, and I think that depth is what's really going to carry them as we start making that playoff push here from now until the end of the regular season.
Statistically, the one area they kind of need to improve on is blocks. As a team, the Cardinals have 67 blocks. Their opponents have 110. So that one kind of jumps out at you, but it's also kind of a wonky statistic because blocks is not something you can necessarily plan, and you don't always know where the block is going to go.
Exactly, and it's really not their style. I mean, you look at it, and blocks are an interesting stat. They really are. You look at a block, and the way a block is determined is obviously the ball has to hit the ground on the other side. But if 3 people jump up and one of them blocks it, all 3 get credit for a block assist. Yeah. So your numbers are a little bit different than
kind of inflated a little bit.
Than what they can be. But it really isn't part of what makes Cardinal volleyball successful is the block, and it really is more the digs with DJ and Haley and Linnea Wallace has done a phenomenal job in the back row, and so she's one of those 1-2 punches in herself, and that she's a great attacker and she's a great digger as well. So they have a lot of pieces, and now as we get into the conference, it's about putting that all together and making sure that it's the good Cardinals that come out every single night and play from start to finish. They've been getting in the habit of starting out a little bit slow, having to rally back after a first set loss. So it's important for them to really kind of get going and get off to a good start right away, especially in matches like tonight against St. Thomas, next Friday against St. Benedict, which is ranked number 7 in the country. It's a tough slate for the Cardinals right now with 2 of their next 4 matches against nationally ranked teams. So they need to make sure to get off to a good start.
So before we go to break, I want to touch on one more sport, and that's going to be men's soccer, Donnie, because they've had a phenomenal season. Even though their record maybe doesn't show it at 4-5, they've had some milestone victories this year, including a recent win on September 28th when they knocked off Augsburg in overtime. Tell us why that was such an important win.
Well, it was important for a number of reasons, and you know the Cardinals had dropped 2 in a row to begin to head into that game last Saturday, and so obviously to get off the schneid there. But St. Mary's had not beaten Augsburg since 2005, so it was a span of 13 games in which Augsburg had left the field with the victory, and that's very important. You know, those are things that you know you could hang your hat on. And Augsburg's a very good team, and I know talking to Coach Bowers that it was a 50-50 game. You knew coming in that you know either team, whichever one's going to play the best, is going to come away with the victory. And I know that sounds kind of hollow. That's the way it usually works.
Right.
But you know, it was one of those games that really boasted the confidence of our players and really helped them to realize that, you know what, we can play with some of the better teams in the conference. And it you know, to me, more so than the 13-game losing streak that they snapped, it's the fact that, excuse me, early in the game, early in the second half, we scored 2 quick goals, and all of a sudden it was a 3-1 game. We're up 3-1. In a span of 40 seconds, Augsburg came back and scored 2 goals. All of a sudden it's a 3-3 game. Mm-hmm. This team refuses to quit. In years past, easily would have seen that end up be a 5-3 loss.
Sure.
or a 4-3 loss. This team refused to quit. They battled hard through the final about 15 minutes of regulation, came out and scored 3 minutes into overtime to get the win. And that's the difference between this team. This team refuses to quit. They refuse to let some bad bounces, some fluke plays, whatever it may be, get to them, and they just continue to battle and continue to play. No heads were hung when the Augsburg scored that tying goal, and boom, 3 minutes into overtime, we scored the game winner, and you could see it when the guys are running out. It was pure jubilation, and this is what hard work gets you, and that was really good to see.
Yeah, and of course it was at home, so that added to the excitement. It went into overtime. It was a conference opponent, so 3 huge things going for it there. And it also propelled Eli Szymanski, who kicked the game-winning goal, to propel him to be Athlete of the Week for the MIAC. He has scored half of the team's last 6 goals, right?
Yeah, he scored both goals against Loris in a loss to Loris, and then he scored that game winner against Augsburg. So it was a great honor for him. And you know, I know that everybody's going to say it's a team effort, but you know what? Eli's had really a breakout year, and it's exciting to see a St. Mary's men's soccer player get rewarded for that type of an effort. And you know, it is a team game, but anytime you can get an individual honor like that in a sport like soccer where there are so many great players in our conference, it was really good to see.
Yeah, I mean, he's only a sophomore, and I think that really speaks to Corbin Bauer's team. When we had Corbin on, he has a young team, but he has completely changed the culture. So, Donnie, how would you compare this year's men's soccer team to some past years? You already mentioned the fact that they don't really let bad circumstances get them down and then just kind of give up, right?
You know, I think it's as much just the personality of the players. I mean, these are players who have put in the hard work, and they've done the 6 a.m. Weight training workouts with Coach Sager, and they've battled, and they've been through the ups and downs of I'm looking at like a Josh Balsiger or Robbie Sobczak who are seniors. They've been through those ups and downs those first 3 years, and they know what it takes to get to that next level. And I think that they have really determined this year that they're going to do that they're going to make that breakthrough, and they're going to make a serious playoff push, something that's never happened in men's soccer history and at St. Mary's, is to make it to the MIC playoffs. They're determined to do that, and I think that the senior leadership that's there with Josh and Robbie and all the rest, Jimmy Perot is playing outstanding in goal right now. Mm-hmm. Zach Bracken, the list goes on, but every one of those guys is such a great leader, and they really are. You talk about changing the culture. I think it's more that they've just accepted that it's going to take hard work. This isn't going to come easy. We're going to have some ups and downs. We're going to have some bumps in the road. Tuesday's game against St. Olaf, 1-1 going into the second half in the driving rain and the cold weather, and they gave up 3 goals. That's going to happen. You're going to have some of those bumps, but it's this team is not going to let that define them. They're going to continue to battle, and they're going to make a serious push. And I really think that when we talk again, if we have another one of these at the end of the season, we're going to be talking about playoff runs, and we're going to be talking about playoff teams. I think that this men's soccer team is going to be one that we're going to talk about that's going to be in the playoffs. They're that good, they're that talented, and they're that deep. And that's something that Corbin has not had in the past is the talented depth that he has. You've got a person like Jacob Clements coming off the bench. He's second on the team in scoring.
Right,
and
he has 4 goals.
And so those are the kind of things that really make this team so much different. It makes it harder to play them because you can bring somebody like Jacob off the bench, and he's every bit as good as the person that he's replacing. So the opponent doesn't get there's no drop in trying to defend St. Mary's because we're that deep and we're that talented. You look at somebody like Jimmy Perreault. Michael Maniac, the starter who had been the main starter, hurt his hand against Lawrence. Jimmy stepped in, made 6 saves in that game, and turned around against Augsburg and made 12 saves. Several of them were absolutely unbelievable, and really was a real reason that they came away with that win. Another senior stepping in and knowing what needed to be done and getting the job done. And I really think that that's what makes this team so special, is these seniors have fought through 3 years, and this year they're going to make it their best, and they're going to make it something for St. Mary's to remember.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about the rest of the fall sports at St. Mary's. We have women's soccer to go, cross country, and also golf. We'll do that coming up next here on HBC's Cardinals Nest.
Let's do it. Hello. Yeah. Christy, welcome to Garage Squad. Yeah. Congratulations. Put your thing down and we'll do the little. Yeah, we're done.
Piece of cake.
Come on, there we go. You guys ready to see it? Yeah, baby. It's just very emotional. A dream come true.
Garage Squad. New episode Wednesday at 10 on Motor Trend.
See you guys then.
No matter how you connect, HBC delivers fast, reliable internet and secure Giga-Home Wi-Fi throughout your home for intense gaming, easy sharing, and buffer-free streaming on every device all at once. With local experts ready to help. Connect to faster internet. Connect to Giga-Home Wi-Fi. Connect to now. Call or click hbci.com to upgrade your internet today.
And we are back here on the Cardinals Nest on HBC. It's Donnie Netto, Dean Beckman. We're just sort of kind of summarizing and going through where everything is at with the fall sports on this week's Cardinals Nest.
I'm figuring something out. When we don't have a guest,
finally, right?
when we don't have a guest, I talk too much. So I apologize to all you viewers.
You're kind of going
if
horse
I'm talking
on us.
too much.
No, that's okay. You're the sports information director.
There you
You've
go.
got all the info, so you should be talking a lot. So we've touched on volleyball and men's soccer so far. Let's get into the other fall sports. Women's soccer off to a great start this year, 5-3, but 0-3 in the conference. And so, it's been like the men's team, kind of an up and down year a little bit.
Yeah, they've played some really good conference teams to open the season. So I certainly look for that number to change. It's been a solid start for them. We're at the exact halfway point in the season, and they opened up with 4 straight wins, which was really great to see. Kind of gets the ball rolling for them, and like we talked with the men, a very young team. Very few seniors, and I think that when you've only got 3 seniors, you rely on them for the leadership, but you've also got to have some people that are underclassmen that you're going to need to step up and really kind of take some of the load. And who has done a better job than Jordan Matthews?
Wow, it's been incredible what she's done.
Yeah, it's a pleasant surprise to me. Didn't know anything about Jordan when she came in, and here she is leading the team with 7 goals, and really kind of has become the go-to person for them when they need the offense. And for a sophomore, for a first-year person here at St. Mary's, that's certainly got to be a positive for Coach Cassidy, in that he's got somebody like that. She's tall, she's fast, she's so skilled, and has got an amazing shot. And you look at that, and you got to figure what a great thing for Coach Cassidy to have is that lethal weapon like that.
When she visited campus last fall as the faculty athletic representative, and she was also at that time interested in communication, so I met with Jordan, and then afterward I was talking to Coach Cassidy, and I said, "So what do you think? Would she have a chance to play?" And he just kind of laughed, and he said, "Oh yes, she'll definitely have a chance to play." He said she'll be, one of the key components on the team, and he was exactly right.
Yeah.
She's got 7 goals already in what is still a very young season.
Right, and she's fun to watch.
Yeah.
And again, this year, she's not the only person that that's carrying the load for them, and I've been very impressed with Cassie Arriaga.
Yeah.
She's really come on the last couple of games and really played. She's a playmaker. She really makes things happen, and I think that's really something. And one of the people that, interestingly, we haven't talked a lot about is Gabriella Peterson. The goalkeeper. She's played every single minute of every game so far this year, done a phenomenal job. She's got 4 shutouts already this year, a 0.75 goals against average. You can't ask for more from a player. And for somebody who's a senior, who's really been the backstop for them for 4 years, I'm really excited and happy to see her really have an outstanding senior year. You hope that of all the seniors, that they have a great going away. And, she's one of the reasons that they're having the success they are, is because, teams are not scoring on her less than a goal a game. And that certainly makes Coach Cassidy's job a little bit easier.
Yeah. And you brought up Cassie Arriaga, also Mary Loy, who is really good friends because they grew up in the same place out in the Seattle, Washington area. Good friends with Jordan Matthews is Mary Loy. She has 2 goals on the year, and Nicole Thompson with 2 goals.
Yeah.
They are really spreading things out.
They are, and that's important. You look at the Augsburg game that they played last Saturday. They lost 1-0. Augsburg comes in with a player who's a senior. She's the reigning MIAC Player of the Year, and Coach Cassidy put one of his freshmen on her and said she does not score, and she did not score. And so, you need to be able to have somebody beside Jordan, because teams are going to do that to her too. They're going to make sure, take her out of the equation. Now what do you have? And he needs to rely on people like Mary, Nicole, Cassie. You pick anybody on down the line, that they have to step up and do their part, or they're going to struggle. They can't just rely on Jordan to do the job, although Jordan's been doing the job. So
one last comment on women's soccer, and that is Kaylee Manglitz, I think, wins the Bad Luck Award on the year. She has 11 shots on goal, second in the team to Jordan Matthews, who has 33. But she doesn't have a goal to show for it. But that's soccer. I think that's
right.
A perfect example
it
of how
is.
soccer can
that's
go.
That's right. It's a crazy game when it comes to shots, and it's just one of those things that. You wonder why they can't put it between that big giant net.
But it's not
it is.
easy.
It's a funny game.
Yep. All right, let's go to cross country, Donnie, because the men's team, they finished 14th at the National Catholic Invitational, and the women, I believe, finished 20th at that Invitational. So they're just a couple of meets in here, and the MIAC championships don't come up until early November, actually.
Yeah, we're talking winter sports when they're still running in the MIAC championships.
Sounds cold to me.
It's an interesting, cross country is an interesting sport in that they really only compete every other weekend. Mm-hmm. So this weekend, this Friday, they're at the UW Eau Claire Invitational. That'll be their 3rd invite. This will be a really good barrier for them, or watermark for them, because a lot of the MIAC schools will be at that meet, so they can kind of get an early barometer of where they sit in terms of some of the other MIAC schools. And right now both teams are running very well, and I think that Jordan Malakowski, Isaiah Olson have really kind of been the leaders of the men's team, and Danielle Frankie, we've been talking about her every year. She's at it again and having a great year, and Anna Merrick is doing a nice job as well. So those 4 are kind of the leaders, and Coach Anderson's got some good depth on both sides, and it's one of those where every meet, while you want to do really well, is preparation for that day in November when they get to the MIAC championships. and then the Central Regional after that. So it's kind of a positioning type of a sport where you want to train, you want to work hard, but then you want to make sure that you're ready at the end of the year for those two very important meets.
And outside of Jordan and Danielle, there are some new names that kind of finish behind them and are kind of new to us here on the Cardinals Nest. So there's some good youth coming up.
Absolutely.
Here,
Yep.
All right, let's go to, we got about 3 minutes left in the program, Donnie, so let's get to golf, because the women's golf team just recently participated in the MIAC Championship.
Yeah, they did a very nice job. They finished 10th in the event. Jessica Massimo, who has really kind of stepped into the limelight as the Cardinals leader, she led the way with for them in the 3-day event. Different type of a tournament for them because they had to play 3 rounds rather than the traditional 2 that they play in all the other invitationals. And neat for her to finish it with a career best 81, which is an outstanding performance for her. And then Celeste Van Klein is really had a great first year for the Cardinals and was really the 1 or 2 golfer all year long, and you know, was one of those that Coach Rangard is going to enjoy having for 3 more years. As Jessica, only a sophomore, he gets her for 2 more. So a lot of youth on that team, and the thing he needs more than anything right now is some depth. He's only got 5 people on the roster, so he needs to build that depth so that the competition for those, you know, what I would look at as 3, 4, and 5 spots are a little greater, so that people need to continue to improve those scores. You know, you look at Bethel won the event. The St. Catherine, there was a young lady from St. Catherine who won it. She was 4 over par for 3 rounds. We need to get those scores lower than Jess's 81 if we want to be competitive. And Coach Rangard's got the tools in place because he's worked very hard at that. And I will continue to see that that's going to happen, and they're going to continue to get better every year that moving forward, because he's really done a nice job.
And lastly, Donnie, the men's golf team, their MIAC Championship, Conference Championship, this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, big weekend
event
for them,
right?
and I know expectations are very high. They're playing extremely well. Bryce Gillespie, who we had on the show, is continuing to play extremely well. Joe Abdo's doing a nice job. Alex Allen, a name we haven't talked about before, had a great performance last weekend at the MSOE Invitational. He shot a career best 74 on the second day to lead them, and it was one of those where Bryce was 78-81, so he wasn't their low scorer, but yet Alex and Blair Sanders stepped up and did a nice job. Coach Rangard's got a little bit more depth on the men's side, and I know that the competition for those 5 spots going this weekend is going to be great this week to see who gets to compete in this season-ending event.
Yep. Well, we got to run, Donnie, but with some of the fall sports winding down, some of them only halfway through, really, but that also all means that winter sports.
That's right.
Coming up very soon. I think for hockey and basketball, is it the 15th
October
that
15th,
they get started?
They kick off, yep.
Right, and swimming and diving, they're usually a little earlier even than that, right? So we've got a lot of action coming your way, and on upcoming Cardinals Nest, we'll have more coaches and more athletes on our show. Today,
less
though,
of me.
we were guest-free and less of me. All right, thanks for watching the Cardinals Nest. This is HBC TV 25.
Hello? Anyone back here?
I felt this overwhelming, get out, get out.
What the hell?
Food, shelter, fast internet. It's all we really need. Good thing HBC has the fast, reliable internet it takes to power all the Wi-Fi hungry gadgets in your home, all at once. With speeds like these, get smooth HD streaming video, gaming, music, and surfing, all with no waiting, no buffering, no kidding. You want it. You need it. Get it. Call or click hbci.com and upgrade your internet today.